Okay, and we're live. I'm going to start counting down to see how far behind we are. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Coco says hi. 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Holy, 30 seconds behind. Okay, and my sound is working. Perfect. So it's just barely, we're early. It's just Diane and I here on Zoom so far. If you want to join us on Zoom, the link and the passcode is in the chat there. Deuce Coupe class 2. Alrighty, so Rhonda can't make it, but she is making it. Frankie can't make it, but I believe she's making this bag. I think so. I wonder if Dawn will pop in. Alrighty, so Rhonda can't make it, but she is making it. Frankie can't make it. Oops, there we go. I'm hearing my own voice. All done. Diane is making it, but she's working on a different bag today because she's got it due for a client. I'm just realizing how messy my floors are over by the door. Please ignore that. We'll give it about 5 minutes for everybody to pop in, and then we will just get started. There's Dawn. Hi, Dawn. How are you feeling?
Awful.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Not good.
Oh, well. Oh, well.
Can only go up from here, right?
Exactly.
Are you attempting to sew today or no?
I am attempting.
You are
sew,
attempted?
But not the wallet. That's a special project.
Oh, the special project. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, that's coming up soon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, Cynthia. Okay, Cynthia's going to join us on Zoom. I know that Cynthia is going to be sewing along today. So Rhonda and Frankie are sewing it, but they can't make it today. Cynthia, where's Cynthia's name? I got to learn to put this list in alphabetical order. There we go. Okay. So I'm just going to mute you, Dawn. I'm putting you on mute now.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. Then it should clip back to my face. There we go. Oh, there's Frankie. Not sewing, still sick, but thought I would watch for a few minutes. That's nice, Frankie. Yes, come hang out. We'll help make you feel better. Dawn's not feeling well either, so she's here. So it's going to be a rather quick pace. All of the sew-alongs for this month will be rather quick pace because we got lots to get through. Again, some of you, especially those that are using glue instead of double-sided tape, it may be better to watch. Whoa, that microphone is like right up in my business there, isn't it? Where else can I put this that it's not going to be? Can I clip it to this? Maybe? Nope. What was I saying? Oh, those that are going to be using glue. So anywhere I'm using tape, you can use glue, but you have to let the glue dry before you sew. So if you're using tape, of course, it's going to be a much faster process. If you're using glue, you're going to do the same thing, but you're going to allow the glue to dry however long it takes for the glue to dry. So this is a little bit of a different sew along because you're going to be doing the technique based on what the capabilities of your machine are. Again, I'm on industrial machines, so I can sew through double-sided tape like no tomorrow, like I do all the time. So I'm going to be doing it as that. But if you are on a domestic or you have a machine that's sensitive to double-sided tape, I strongly recommend you use the Fabric Tack by Beacon. This is always my go-to glue for everything. So this works great for it, but you do need to let it dry. So we're going to be moving rather fast. We're going to hopefully get the zippers on the exterior, as well as get one set of card slots done. That is my goal today. And of course, we're going to be getting all of the interfacing on. Okay, there's Stephanie. Hi, Stephanie. You're cutting it out. Did you get your pattern pieces to print, Stephanie? I know you're having issues with that. Gotta love computers. Like, I know once upon a time I was having issues with that. It was my Adobe had updated and had done something with the margins, which made it all cut off certain lines, which was really annoying. It wasn't the pattern, it was the program. But I learned a trick, and my son told me to do this, and it's genius. So I'll tell you guys what that is. So you know how sometimes it happens with your Adobe or whatever, you print it off, but it's like cuts off some of the lines, especially if the patterns weren't done in North America, just because of the transfer between A4 to letter or whatever. My son says, so Mom, if you're so frustrated, when I just want to throw my printer across the room, if you're so frustrated, why don't you just put in legal size paper and change your feed to legal size paper? And I did it, and it's amazing. It still prints the letter and you have a little bit of waste of paper, but it makes that margin out of the way, so it prints everything. So now whenever I print my patterns, I switch my paper to legal paper and I print the letter patterns, and it never cuts anything off, and it's amazing. So that is a tip and trick that my non-sewing son gave me when it came to printing stuff off, and it is my go-to. So if you're having any issues like that with the printing, especially if you're on a Mac, I find that my Mac is a little bit more finicky with my Adobe. But yeah, once doing printing onto legal size paper helped me out so very much. So yeah. All right, so we're just waiting for Cynthia to join us on Zoom. Stephanie, are you going to join us on Zoom today? Oh, hey, Rhonda, you're just going to be watching there. Yes, I hope that you're feeling better as well, but you are making this one. Yes, Rhonda? Yes, you had everything all cut out yesterday. You messaged me. Yeah, so Stephanie, try, if it keeps happening, try printing, changing your paper feed to legal size and use legal size paper, and then you won't have any more problems, I promise you. You thought of doing that, but don't have legal, too lazy to go buy. Yeah. Amazon, it'll come right to your door the next day, right? Legal paper is a little bit more expensive, but I mean, I was wasting so much paper with margins and all that stuff that, and just the frustration. Hey, Cynthia, yeah, it's worth it to me. So yeah. Cynthia, are you sewing or watching today? I know you're going to make this one, but you're going to sew along? Okay. So yes, today isn't the hard part of sewing at all. It'll be when we go to do the gusseted coin part is the hardest part, but that'll be like the very last day. And then today we're going to put on our interfacings, and I'm going to probably show you how to do one side of the zipper on the exterior. Again, this is something that takes some practice to going. You just take it slow and don't sew it until you're absolutely happy with it. And then you'll do the other side for homework. We'll get the main lining panels prepped, and I'm hoping there will still be enough time to do one of the card slot sections, so the other card slot section can be homework, but we will wait and see how far we get. This is definitely going to be a 4-class sew along, because I don't want to rush everything, so it'll be good. Yay. Yeah, Rhonda's all ready to sew it up. So Diane and Dawn have both made this already because they were testers for it. So they're not sewing it today. Dawn is under the weather, but she is here. Thank you, Dawn, still for coming and helping me out and manning the chat. And she's there to yell at me in case I miss anything on the YouTube side of the chat. So I appreciate you so much, Dawn. Diane is working on a client order, but she has an ear on me because if I start making mistakes, she's going to yell at me too. They're my Brandy, because I make mistakes, even though this is mine and Anna's pattern. Oh, maybe I should send this link to Anna. Just give me a sec, just in case she decides to pop in. She works full time, so she might not be able to, but I like to send her the Zoom just in case she decides to join us. So let me just put this in here, seeing as she was the co-designer of this pattern. And then we will get started. 715. There we go. Just in case you want to pop in. All right. Any questions about anything before we get started? About the cutting? Did everybody cut it out in the way that I did in the video? Stephanie, are you doing it as per the pattern? Are you doing the hack that I did for class last week that makes the process a little bit easier? I'm saying that before you cut it out, just in case you didn't see the little difference. That looks so funny right there. I'm wearing a hoodie, so there's really no good place to put the microphone. So it's just going to be right front and center there. There's Stephanie. Hello, Stephanie. Nice to see your face. How are you?
She's good. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Excellent. So you haven't cut yours out yet?
I haven't. I thought I cut printed everything, but me rushing to finish cutting it, I realized I don't have all my pieces.
Okay.
So
that's okay.
I had them and then they disappeared. So
do you know what? That happens all the time. As you are with us more and more, you'll see me going, where the heck did this piece go? And then it'll be like, what? I can't find it anywhere. And then I will recut it quickly and then I find it. Like, it's just crazy. I think there's little gremlins or something in our studios that run off with our pieces. Did you cut it like we did in the class last week, or did you cut it as per the pattern?
No, I'm going to do it like you did.
Yes. Trust me, it's going to make it a lot easier. Now, once you get more practice and you've made this more and more, you will be able to do it as per the pattern. I mean, you probably still could. I just know with that small seam allowance, this is just going to help us along. I just want to set everybody up to succeed. So, but you do use more fabric. So once you get used to making these, you'll be able to do it the other way and you'll have less waste that way. But this is just how I think it's going to work really, really good. Okay, so what time is it? I can't even see my clock. It is, we're going to give it just another couple minutes because we're going to see if Danelda pops in, Jade pops in. Got lots of people in this class. We have Barbara making it. She's not here yet. Danelda. So we'll just give them a few more minutes to see if they pop in. And we have lots of sewing friends that are making this. They watch the replays and do it. And then, of course, everybody knows that they can always message me throughout the week if they have any questions. So Cynthia has cut it out just like first class. Okay. Rhonda did that way too. I said it may be just fine for you the other way. I just know that this is just going to make it that little bit easier and we can trim off the excess, but you do use a little more fabric this way. So Coco says hi. My boys should be pulling in anytime, so I expect Dexter and Coco to have a little losing their poop session when that happens, so I apologize for that in advance. Is my sound okay? Can you guys hear me okay? It's not too muffled because it's sitting like right on my neck there. There's nowhere else to put my microphone. I look ridiculous. Oh, I think it just drew on my chin too. Man, oh man. You would think it was a Monday. I have no idea where to put this thing. Oh well. Whatever. All right, so everybody got their deckable heavy pieces cut. We're going to start with the interfacing. Sound is good. Look what it's doing. Oh my gosh. I'm obviously not a professional. No, that's not going to work. It's going right here. There we go. All righty. So we shouldn't have any camera problems because we're not doing the cylinder arm today. I know I figured out, well, my son figured it out. What would we do without them? my computer can only handle so many cameras on at once. So when I try to go and switch them over, like I was doing not last week, but the week before, sometimes it doesn't recognize them and then it forgets them all and I have set them all up again. So I don't know what to do about that, but we won't have that issue today. It looks like Stephanie's swimming in the ocean. Nice and sunny there. All
It's
right.
been raining so much here in Florida. I had to have my sunshine.
Aw. Oh, and you're in Florida. We have thunderstorms up here and fall has set in, but I will tell you, I am welcoming the cooler temperatures. I think it's only like 26 degrees Celsius here today, between 25 and 26, which is my ultimate perfect temperature. It's not hot, it's not cold. It's spring and fall. I love. When it gets to like 40 Celsius in the summer, I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I know people like Rhonda and Anna love the hot weather. So I am sorry that the cool weather is here, but I am super happy about it. So, okay, so I am going to go ahead. I'm going to mute Diane, Dawn, Cynthia, and Stephanie. So if you have any questions, make sure you unmute yourself to get my attention, or you can type it in the chat there. Okay, so I'm going to mute you guys, and then we're going to get started. Mute. Whoops. Oh, I'm sending Dawn a direct message somehow. Not sure how I did that. And Cynthia's muted. Okay. Let's get started. So we're going to want to pull out our main interfacing pieces, our main exterior piece, as well as our main lining panels. Hopefully my desk isn't too messy here, so let me put my video camera down. Okay. How's that? Is the light okay? I apologize for my mess. Again, I really need to get a new table because this is just worked on really hard. So you're going to need all of your main stabilizer pieces, your two main lining pieces, your main exterior piece, as well as your fleece or your dish packing foam. Again, anywhere that I am using double-sided tape, you can use glue. Just remember, you have to let your glue dry if you are using glue, but if your machine is sensitive to double-sided tape, please, please, please use the glue. So if you're here after I was talking about the glue, this is the glue I recommend, the Beacon Fabric Tech, but you do have to let it dry, but it will make your life a lot easier holding everything together, and you will thank me. But if you're on an industrial like me or on a machine that isn't sensitive to double-sided tape, have at her. You know your machine better than I do. So, okay, so we are going to, I'm going to skip the zipper preparation for now. We are going to go, where are we? Okay, page 6. Yes, page 6, fusible interfacing. Okay, so we're going to start with the main exterior first. I'm going to get my iron warming up. I don't have my iron on my table today, so I will be going kind of off to the side and not showing what I'm doing there, but I will show you what I'm doing from here. So we have all of our lines that we drew out before because our piece is bigger than our pattern piece. If you cut it as per the pattern, you're still going to be working from this line here, from where you drew it. So what we want to do is, if you look on page 6, step number 2, it's telling us we need to draw a line on all 4 sides. So we're going to be drawing from this line. I'm going to give you the measurements because it is mine and Anna's pattern and it's just going to be easier. And we want to draw a line 1/4 of an inch in from either the side if you cut it as per the pattern piece, or 1/4 inch in from where we had marked it. And this is going to help us with our zipper placement. From all 4 sides. I have my window open, so if you hear some banging, there actually now there's just kids walking by with a basketball. Coco will say hi to everybody now that school's back in. For anybody new, I live just down the street from a high school or a middle school and an elementary school, so Coco will be in her glory here. Okay, so from on these corners, I'm going to kind of do a little dash line at 1/4 of an inch. Again, this is all for placement of our zippers. Actually, I think I'm ahead of myself here. No, I'm not. It's also for placement of our deckable heavy pieces. I'm ahead of myself on the zipper. I've been making so many of these. I'm trying to make them for craft fair season, and I post them on my Facebook page and they sell out right away, which I guess is a good thing. But okay. So now that we have that, what we're going to do is take 2 of our stabilizers, find the ones that you like the best. Like, you know how they kind of can end up a little wonky, but this is our exterior and it's going to be what shapes the bag. So find the 2 that you think are the best shape and the most uniform in shape to each other. I like this one and this one, I think. Okay, so we're going to put those aside. We have our marking. We're going to take our fusible fleece or dish packing foam. So if you're using fleece, you can definitely go ahead and fuse this right away. I'm going to use some double-sided tape on the back. You should be able to do this with a domestic machine. Just keep it outside of the exterior part and you won't sew through it. So I'm just going to kind of put a couple strips right in the middle. This dishwashing foam just gives the little perfect amount of squish without it being too much squish. Oopsies. But the tape doesn't like it so much. That's okay. You can also glue or use some spray adhesive to put this on if you wanted to. Okay, and we are going to position this. Oh, I got a piece of, that's fine. Right in between those 1/4 inch lines that we drew. It should fit right, nice and perfect in there. Mine pretty much does. Stick it down. Ignore my thread there. It's not going to show through the other side, so I'm not worried about it. And then we're going to take our 2 of our, these were the ones I liked, right? And we are going to fuse these. You're going to line them up at the top there. If you're deckable heavy, and another one right here. Now, if you're using dish packing foam like me, be very careful not to touch the iron onto the dish packing foam. Just do it on the deckable heavy pieces. And we're going to fuse that to either the fleece or the dish packing foam. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to be off camera for a moment. I can probably actually put this up. I don't think you'll see me, but whoopsies, you don't see me that way. Hello. Yeah, you're not going to see me over there. So I'm just going to go over to my iron over here and I'm going to fuse those on. So I won't see the chat for a moment. Be right back. Again, make sure you are not touching your iron to that dish packing foam or you will cry. Make sure it's all at that 1/4 inch line and fuse it onto the foam. Now this deckable heavy is what helps us shape the wallet in that perfect curvy way that we want, and it gives it its structure. Okay. So it looks like this. My camera back down. Okay. So this is what we should have here. So yes. We're not going to do the lining pieces. Actually, maybe we'll go ahead and we'll do the lining as well. So we're going to pretty much do the exact same thing with the lining. So we'll set the exterior side for now. We'll get all this fusing done. So if you use cotton, if you can't see your line too much that we drew before, I could see it faintly, but I went ahead and I drew it all the way around again. I could see it faintly through my interfacing once I fused it. Now what we're going to do is just like we did, we're going to take our other 4 stabilizer pieces and we are going to do the same thing and draw that 1/4 inch line down from those lines that we drew or from the edge of the fabric, depending on how you cut yours out. I think everybody did it with this little hack we're doing, and we're creating that placement again for our stabilizer. I'm just going to go ahead and just kind of eyeball this. Doesn't have to be exact. On those corners. You find Decaville hard to adhere to, Rhonda? Do you use lots of steam? It sticks to the dish packing foam really good. Look at this. It's staying there. I'm going to show you something that I use for my Decaville Heavy, okay? Let's pretend I am ironing something. Pretend I've ironed, and my Decaville isn't wanting to stay. I have one of these. I don't remember what this is called. A clapper, I think. So I put all of my heat onto my either Decaville Heavy or Decaville Light or Peltex or whatever. And while it's still hot, I take the iron off and I take my clapper and I put all of my weight down on it like this. And I was doing this over there. And it helps somehow. I know this is for when you're using, mainly for when you're sewing fabrics that you're making garments out of. But I use it for my Decaville like this. So when it's hot, so say I ironed, and then it helps keep the heat there without keeping the iron on for too long. So yeah, that might be something that might help you get it to adhere properly, because you can see mine is stuck down. So that might be a handy tip. I got this off Amazon for like 10 bucks or something. So maybe. All right, Dawn, no worries. So do you have a clapper, Rhonda? That might help you a little bit. Yeah, I just discovered the clapper. I don't know. I think it was actually when I was watching a garment sewing thing. I'm like, hey, I wonder if that would help with interfacing, and it definitely does. Okay, sorry, that was a sidebar thing. So I'm still drawing that 1/4 inch line all the way around. You don't have to worry it into these little sections here, just along the straight edges, because our Decaville is not going to reach down in this area here. So I've got a section here. Okay, and then just like we did with this piece, we're going to take our Decaville Heavy pieces, we're going to put them up and in here, right in between those 1/4 inch lines again. And we're going to fuse those on just like that for both. So it shouldn't be in this middle section. Later on, if we find it's coming too close to this, we can trim it away. It's not a big deal. You'll see what I mean when we get there. So I'm going to take this over to my iron and I'm going to fuse those on. So I'll put this back up so you're at least looking at my machine and not my dirty table here. Hello. Okay, so I'm going to go quickly do that. I don't have a camera over in this area, but I hardly ever iron on camera, so. Okay. So again, this is helping us structure our lining. And I am using my clapper, just so you guys know. I do it out of habit now. I just find it really helps, especially with Decaville Heavy and Decaville Light, to get it to stick. Just takes like an extra 30 seconds. And you can see the steam come off of the clapper, which, you know, it's just keeping that heat in there really good. So accurate markings for these are very important just because we need these to fit on either side of our wallet after. So trust me, it took a lot of math to get this wallet to work. We worked hard on it, but I think we have it perfected. So almost done. Okay. Ta-da! Put this back down. All right. Any questions about that so far, or are we good? Have a quick drink. Okay, so that takes us away from our fusible interfacing. Again, if you've used cotton, you would have backed it with a medium woven interfacing. Okay, now we need to make some marks. So we're going to mark our exterior. We're going to work on our exterior here. So I'm going to use chalk. See these marks on our pattern pieces here? We got one in the middle, one just up from that, and then one in the center. We need to make those marks. How am I going to do this now? Okay, because we did extra length, it's a little bit harder. So I'm actually just going to flip up the wrong side. I'm going to put this down along those lines where we drew the pattern out. And I'm just going to draw the lines on the wrong side for now, and then we'll transfer them to the other side. This is me winging it, trying to figure out how to do this with this hack. So transfer all those lines on the wrong side, flip your pattern piece over, and do the same on the other side. Line it up where we drew out the pattern piece, mark all those marks. Just like so. And then you're going to just take the exterior, because we want it to be on this other side, and you want to use a pen that's going to wash away. I'm using chalk because on the Lux that I'm using, I find that the silver pens kind of leave a streak there. Hello, Danelda. How are you?
Hi, not too bad. Sorry I'm late.
That's okay. Are you sewing with us today?
Well, I was, but I see that I don't have enough, what do you call it? Decoville. So.
Oh no. Do you have Decovil Light?
No. I thought I did, but I
because I was going to say you could just double it up and you would have the same, and you don't have any Peltex?
I do.
You could use Peltex.
I could use that.
You could use Peltex. Yeah. You could probably, I don't know. I haven't tested it with EB Fuse Heavy if you have that from Emmeline Bags, because that's like Deco Light, but I don't know how many layers of that you would have to do to make it equivalent. But Peltex works for this. Peltex or Craftex you could use as well.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll keep cutting, but I'll be behind it, so I won't be sewing today.
That's fine. You know, you can get a hold of me anytime. I'm going to just put you on mute. So if you need to get my attention, you know what to do. Okay. So back to transferring. So we want to transfer all these marks to the right side, but it's hard to say the way we cut it because we cut it bigger. So all I do is right where we drew the first line, I'm just going to kind of take my chalk or my erasable pen, and I'm going to make a mark there. Flip it over, and we want to extend that mark really far, okay? Like really far like that. And we want to do that for all of the marks. We need to be able to see this mark later on. So go ahead and do that. So I'm going to go here and here. Probably could use a sew line pen. I'm just scared it's going to leave white marks, like those ghost marks that sometimes happen. So chalk works really well for me here. And extend that line as far as you can on the right side. So again, I'm going to see it's there, transfer. Okay. And I'm going to transfer. Just like that. Isn't that beautiful? We will wash the chalk away later on. So chalk just works the best for this soft vinyl for me. So, okay. Diane's probably like, Brandy, what are you doing? I'm making it easier.
You got that right.
I'm making it easier. I swear. Okay. So next, what we want to do. So we are looking at page 7, main exterior construction. We transferred all 8 of our marks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It says to make them a 1/2 inch long, but we've done them really long because we've cut so much extra here. I don't know how far I want it to be in, so we're going to wipe it away later. So I just did them right down into the middle. Okay, so this is where you're going to either use a double-sided tape or glue. I'm using double-sided tape, but remember you can use glue. Stephanie, how is your machine with double-sided tape, your HD9?
It's finicky with it.
It's finicky.
Honest.
Yeah. I know Lee's, who is a tester, she's got the Juki 2010Q, which is similar to the HD9. So when I was sewing on my Juki 2010Q, I found that Dritz Wash Away Wonder Tape works okay with it, but at the same time, it's not the stickiest and doesn't always hold. So you may want to consider using a fabric tack. But you know your machine, figured it'll just take you a little longer to do because you'll have to glue it and clip it and let it dry and then go on from there. Okay? Okay. And then message me if you have any issues. You can message me on Facebook or whatever when you get to that point and I'll help you out, no problem.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
So now what we want to do, we're going to be using our stabilizer as our fold over placement. So we are going to take our double-sided tape or glue. You would be putting your glue right along the edge of the foam and the deckful and everything like that. So I'm going to put my tape all along there. I'm using a 1/2 inch tape. I'm going to just take it all the way around. It doesn't have to look pretty. My tape never looks pretty. Everything sticks to it. I never keep it in the papers it's supposed to be kept in. Because I'm Brandy. That's what I do. Okay.
Now, Brandy, are you putting that inside the line?
Inside the line. I'm putting it right inside along the stabilizer here. So it's right in on the stabilizer.
Use glue, that's where I would put it.
Yes, you put all the glue along the outside of your stabilizer at this point. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Now, keeping that in mind, we are going to be sewing through this stabilizer, but it's 1 layer of vinyl in that until we put it all together. So shouldn't be too much of an issue. If you are worried about that thickness, I guess you could probably use Deco-Volite instead, but it just won't be as structured. Okay. So once we have that tape on, what we're going to do now is we're going to take off the paper again, or you're going to do this with glue. Oops. Come on, paper. So you can see where it's all placed there all along that stabilizer. Just like that. Now we're going to start with the straight edges, and you're going to fold this in using that Deco-Vol as your guide. You're going to fold the straight edges down. Now this is why we cut extra, because before we would just be folding in that 1/4 inch, and that's where some people were struggling because that would have been like a very small amount. I do the 1/4 inch when I make these because this is a lot of vinyl, I think, wasting. But to just start out, or if you're using a thicker vinyl, definitely do it this way because these seams get bigger when it's thicker, right? So if you're using a glitter vinyl, this will help you do that. But I'm using a softer vinyl, so I could have just done the 1/4 inch, but this will just help fold it around, and it just gives us a little bit more control, especially when you're learning. So we're not worrying about the corners just yet. We're just folding down and sticking the straight edges down like so. Okay, make sure our lines are still showing so we can see them. Okay, so this is what we got so far. Now these corners, you will have to trim down some of that extra or you're not going to get that to go through. So what I do is when I get to the corners, I almost will trim these corners down to that line that we traced the pattern piece out, because the corners don't need as much to go around. So you're going to kind of trim it up. And again, this won't look pretty on this side. You're going to take the corner, middle part first, like so, and you're going to fold it over the decaval. You're going to kind of just pull and tug, and it will look like there's creases here. But if you look where we're going to be top stitching at the 1/8 of an inch, you're not going to see those creases. See, like pretend where my thumb is where the top stitch is going to be coming through. Just make sure your creases are past that 1/8 of an inch. Does that make sense? So say that's where the stitching is going to come through. You're not going to see those little creases. So you start with the center and then you just kind of pull it and pull it down. You may have to put some little snips in there. I'm not having to for this one. So again, smooth it out. You can see you're not going to see any of these creases here. Okay. And we're going to do the same for all 4 corners. Now here I'm finding I have a little bit too much excess, so I'm just going to trim it up so I can get it around that corner easier. Again, it doesn't have to look pretty. You just got to make sure it's coming down at least that 1/4 of an inch so it gets hidden. See, it looks lovely on this side. And then you just want to make sure all your little pleaty things here, that the pleat doesn't start until, just imagine that top stitch holding it all in place. So, okay, so I'm good with that. I'm going to go to the next corner. I'm going to trim it up. Okay, again, I'm pulling from the center of the corner, pushing it down against that decaval heavy, like so, and then just kind of pulling and easing it around that corner and making sure our little pleat things, see how it doesn't start till almost a 1/4 of an inch down? So I know that that little pleat is going to be hidden in the top stitching that's going to go 1/8 of an inch away from there. So it doesn't have to be perfectly flat. It just has to be out of that seam, so it doesn't show from the outside. Now, if there's a little bit there, not really a big deal. It'll be fine. But again, if you're using glue, you'll probably have to stick it and then use some clips or put something heavy on top of it until the glue dries. I'm going to continue on with the other corners. Diane and Dawn, what do you think of that? Does that make it easier compared to the original?
I think it'll be much easier.
Yeah.
When I was going to make this one again, that's what I was going to do, was make the seam bigger.
Yeah. And I said I made one of these in glitter vinyl. It turned out lovely, but I definitely couldn't use the original seam allowance there. I had to cut it bigger. So it just gives you that other option if you want to do it in a thicker vinyl, that you could. Of course, if your machine can handle it. So yeah, so that looks like a hot mess there, but it's not, because all of my little pleats start a 1/4 of an inch and further down. So when it's top stitched, you're not going to see it. It's going to hide all that. Again, from the middle down first, and then kind of pull. Again, if you need to put little slits in there, you can too. But I find with this extra fabric, you can pull it. Oh, that one went really good. I tell you, every time I do this, it's different. So depending on the vinyl or the cotton. Now, if you use cotton, you could definitely just go ahead and press this all the way around too. That's what we'll be doing with these pieces here. So that is the exterior there. I can see I'm kind of started brushing my lines away there, so I'm just going to remark them, because we do need those still. So if you keep wiping them away or they disappear, keep reapplying them to this exterior piece until we're done. Just like that. Any questions about that, or does that make sense? How about you, Cynthia? Does that make sense? It's good? Okay. So we're going to set that aside for a moment, and we are going to grab out our 17-inch zippers, and we're going to prep them. Let me clean this up a little bit. Hi, Kathy. Oh, yay. Do you plan on making this one, Kathy? And how was your trip to Portugal? That's exciting. I still don't believe you couldn't find any cork that wasn't super expensive. Okay, so on the back of both of our zipper tapes, so this is right side up, we're going to put them wrong side up, and we are going to measure in 1 inch from each side with a marking pen that is not going to disappear. I just use my Tandy leather pen here. This is going to help us put our zipper pulls on nice and straight later on. Oops, I almost did it on the wrong side. Wrong side, not the right side, Brandy. There we go. Now we also want to mark the front and the back center. So the back, you can do the center across the whole thing. Actually, no, you just want to mark it within the lines of it because it will show. I lied. Okay, so fold the zipper in half. And then you want to find those centers, but you only want to do like a little bit of a mark. You don't want it to disappear, but you want to make sure it's within 1/8 of an inch mark, so it will not show later on once we have this sewn on. So within the seam allowance on both sides. Is that half? Yep. On both sides. Okay, and same with the other one. I'm going to just use this one as my marker here. It's also, I don't have to go 17 divided by 2. I don't want to math today, so. Okay, on both sides of the zipper. All right, and then you can go ahead and you can pull your zipper teeth apart. Yay, Kathy. It's funny how you can't wait. You've been in Portugal all this time and now you can't wait to get home and sew. Okay, so we're just going to keep one of the zippers out for now. And this is going to take us over to page 8. So this is where we're going to be using our marked lines. So you can see our marked lines here. I'm just going to make sure that it's 3 inches from the top. Again, my mark lines are slightly off, so I'm going to erase these top and bottom ones, and I'm just going to make sure it's 3 inches from the top, and I'm going to redraw my line there. So these lines here should be 3 inches from either side, and depending on how well you cut your deckable heavy, it may be off or whatever. Oh, this one's right on, and this one's right on, I think. Okay. So from this line to skip over the center lines, we're going to go ahead and we're going to sew from here all the way to here. We're just going to do 1/8 of an inch seam allowance top stitch on both sides. We're going to pull our threads long and tie off in the back. You can just back stitch if you want. It's up to you. But yeah, so we're going to top stitch from here to here and then from here to here. Okay. So let me flip over to the machine. Here. Okay. I'm just going to quickly check my tension here. I'm just going to make sure it's good. Let's loosen it up a little bit. My machine's tension goes off based on different materials. So I always kind of have a scrap piece that's similar in whatever I'm doing, just to make sure it's behaving itself. Oops, it might be a little bit thicker because I do have the third one going through. Let's try now this way. Okay, I think that's good. All right, so I've pulled my threads long. Again, you can backstitch if you prefer, and we're just going to sew with 1/8 of an inch seam allowance from each of those 3-inch lines. So right there, and top stitch at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance to the other line. Pull your thread long. My stitches look great. And then we're going to pull on that bobbin thread to pull the top thread through and tie it off in 3 or 4 knots. And then we'll repeat for the opposite side. Oh, yay, Kathy, I'm so happy you're planning on making this. If you have any questions when you go to watch the replays, feel free to reach out to me through email or comments or through Facebook or Instagram, whatever your favorite is. You know how to get a hold of me. Okay, and I like to burn my threads just because I'm using a nylon or a polyester. I actually don't know what I'm using. I'm using almond, but I always burn my ends. Okay, and same with the opposite side, pulling my threads long. And 1/8 of an inch from a line to a line. Pull your threads long and tie them off. Now the reason we do that in the middle is because we're going to be sewing our zipper on the other sides, but we will not be sewing the zipper in this middle section, but we still want to have that pretty top stitching, right? And we want to make sure that our exterior is going to be staying in place. So this acts as decorative as well as functional. Okay, burn my ends. All right. My messy desk. So this is what that looks like. The light gray looks good with this. I almost went with blue thread, but because my lining is more of a gray, I figured I would go with the gray. So it works good. Okay, need a quick drink. Everything makes sense? No questions so far? Okay. Now for a little bit of a tougher part. Again, you can use glue, you can use tape. This takes some finessing to do for the zippers. So we are on we finished step 4. We are on step 3. Now, if you didn't cut extra, you would just put your double-sided tape along using the seam to line up. But because we did cut extra, we have to draw some more lines. So again, we're going to go in 1/4 of an inch from each of the sides, but we're just going from where our stitching, that top stitching we just did, started and stopped. So, and this is going to help us with placement of our zipper tape. So I like to do the straight edges first, and then I'll go back in and I will draw out the corners. Can you guys see those lines? Maybe I'll go in with my pen so you can see them better. There you go. You will not see these lines later on, so you can definitely use a pen like I'm using if you want to. Quarter of an inch, and then a quarter of an inch. Okay, and then I'm going to just kind of draw it on my corners here. See, this is where it's harder when you have a little bit more, because the fabric, if it was at the quarter of an inch, you wouldn't have as much bulk here. Once we get this sewn on, you can trim this up a little bit, but it does want to lift up a little bit with the extra, so you may have to just kind of finagle it back into place. And then once we're done this step, it'll be holding it all down. So these markings are important. So you end up having enough of your zipper tape out of the way so when we put our pulls on, they don't get caught. Okay, one more. And if you've made a zip around wallet, they all go together somewhat similar. This one's a little different just because it's got 2 compartments. Okay, so if I was using glue, I'd be putting a bead of glue above the line, okay? I'm gonna use my tape. You could probably use 1/8 of an inch double-sided tape, which looks like this. I don't use it very often because I don't have to, but I do have some. Oh my gosh, my drawer is a mess. I get this from Emmeline Bags, and this would be good for domestics because it's super thin. It's only 1/8 of an inch, so it stays where you are not, where you wouldn't be stitching. So that could be an option if your machine is sensitive to it. I'm just going right in with my 1/4 of an inch. And I'm going to start it along that line, pretty much right where my top stitching started and stopped. Put it all around that line, like so. We'll do one side first and we'll come back and do the other side after. So again, you can use glue here, but you'd have to let it dry. My tape obviously got wet somewhere down the line. Okay. That went too far down. Too far down, Brandy. There we go. Oopsies. I don't know why I kept going. Take that tape off of there. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to take the paper backing off my tape. Okay. So this is where we need that center mark really good here. I'm going to transfer it to the other side as well, because we need to know where that center is. Okay, so with this, wrong side up, I'm going to take my tape, also wrong side up, so we have our center line marked here, as well as the center on our tape, and we're going to match it up right at that line and stick it down. Do not stick down the corners just yet. We're just doing this top straight edge, sticking it to the tape. Now this, you may have to unstick it a couple times to get it around. Sometimes it goes good the right time. You just want to make sure, see how much tape I have showing here? We want to have that much coming showing. So we only have a 1/4 inch of the tape onto the back, and about, depending on your tape, this is just under a 1/4 of an inch here. And that's to make sure we get free and clear around those corners. So what I like to do, let's try to show you how do I do it. I don't stick my corners down right away. I kind of just ease it around without sticking it, kind of like so. And then stick this side down, the straight edge down to the tape. And then I just take my thumb and I kind of just go like this, down and around that corner. and it usually eases around quite nicely with no pleats, see? And then you can kind of flip it out this way to double check once it's all sewn in how that looks around that corner. And I have no pleats on my tape, so I'm happy with that. So I'm going to go around the other side. So I'll show you that again. And again, you may unstick this a couple times. What is important is to make sure around that corner you have enough to go around, okay? If you've put it too down this way, when your zipper pull is not going to get around that corner. So you want to make sure this is staying where that 1/4 inch line was that we did. So again, that's what I like to do. I kind of like lay it down, but I'm not sticking the corner. I'm just making it so there's enough fabric to ease around. So I'm just kind of putting it along the edge. See, just kind of laying it along the edge so it gets the shape, sticking down the straight side so it's in place. And then you can kind of finagle the corner. So I can see if I were to press this down now, that zipper tape is going to go way past that 1/4 inch line. So I can kind of move it. See how I can move it? And when I'm going to press that corner in first, very lightly, kind of finagle it, and then press the center in first, like so. Just kind of massage it down and around, and you shouldn't get any pleats. And this is worth taking the time to get these corners nice. Now you got, see, I missed. So I'm going to just pull it up and I'm going to do it again. And sometimes it takes me a couple times to get this laying exactly the way I want it to, but it is worth the effort to make sure it's right, because once you put this all together, if your zipper pull isn't going to go around that corner, or you're going to end up having a whole bunch of pleats and it's just not going to look nice, you will be crying. So you got to make sure. See, I didn't quite get it. I'm going to do it again. I think I got it that time. See how perfect it's going around without any pleats? I'm just kind of corner to corner all the way around. Stick it down. Okay. So from this side, it looks good. So again, I'm just going to take it from this side. I'm just going to pop it out this way, just so I can see how that corner is going to look. I've got enough free and clear there. I am happy. The tape isn't pleating up on itself, so I am super happy with that. Diane, does that seem easier than before? Yeah. I'm asking Diane because she was a tester for this. So these are just little hacks I've come up with to try to make it easier for everybody. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put our needle down at this top stitch where we ended in, pull our threads long. We're going to put on our zipper foot, and we are going to just from here all the way around to this other side where we're going to put our needle down in that hole and pull our threads long, or backstitch. You can backstitch if you want with an 1/8 inch seam allowance, making sure that tape isn't going anywhere. And we're going to secure that in place. Okay, so I'm going to take that to the machine and do that. It's not hard. It's just a little finicky to make sure you get those corners nice. So definitely take your time to do it, and you'll be super happy that you did. Okay, let's go to the machine. Okay, and I got to change into my zipper foot. I got to remember which zipper foot it is. So I'm actually changing into my left zipper foot. Can you guys see me here? So I've got 2 zipper feet. If you have a zipper foot that moves, but you want to choose whichever zipper foot that can keep the foot away, like the walking part will be towards the center. So I never remember which is which. I almost have to pretend it's on like this and say, yeah, this is the one I want here. So it's the one where the little footy thing, when it's looking at you, is on the left-hand side. Or if you have one that moves, or if you have one of those little, what are they called? They're not called minimalist foots, but you know what I mean? The really small ones. If your machine has that, this will definitely help get a nice and straight top stitch. Sorry, what was it?
Skinny foot?
A skinny foot? Oh, is that easy? Yeah.
Is that what you meant?
Yeah.
Okay.
Minimalist foot, skinny foot, I don't know. Dawn speaks my language. Okay, so again, I'm pulling my threads along. Make sure you have, I'm just going to double check that I have a full bobbin, fullish bobbin, because you definitely don't want to top stitch and then run out of bobbin. Okay, so pull your threads along, and I am going to put my needle down in that same stitch that I ended that middle top stitch with. And then when I get to these corners, you will see me hand cranking, and that's because I am super picky at getting a perfect top stitch. So when I get to my corners, I kind of make sure everything is in place, and I hand stitch around there because my machine, I mean, she is powerful and sometimes it gets away from me. So I just find it's easier to do that. So we're going with 1/8 of an inch all the way around. And when I get to my corner, I'm going to hand crank, make sure my needle's down, and adjust around that corner so I get a nice and straight top stitch. Making sure you're not sewing your teeth. It should be up and kind of, see how it's kind of sticking up, and my foot is kind of going right up against that edge. So you're sewing through the deckable heavy, the foam, everything. The zipper, the vinyl. Okay, and then when I get to my straight edge, I go back to just letting my machine do the work. Ooh, I'm happy with that. Good. Okay, I'm coming to the corner, and I'm going to hand crank around that corner again. So again, if you've used glue, your glue will be dry by this point. But maybe try that 1/8 of an inch tape. That may help because you wouldn't be sewing through it, and the tape definitely holds it in place. Okay, come down the other straight side, and then you want to make sure your needle goes down in that hole again for where we started and stopped our top stitching. Right there. Pull your threads long or back stitch, and then pull and tie them off in the back. And at this point, make sure that you've caught your zipper tape on the back here, because if you haven't caught your zipper tape, then you'll be crying. See, not too hard, right? Not too bad. I think a lot of leather working wallets go together almost the same way. But usually they would have a raw edge. I will admit the very first time I made the first one, because I was the lead designer on this one, it was all raw edge. There was no folded over edges. Anna is the one that came up with the folded over version because not everybody likes raw edge wallet. Not everybody likes edge painting. And it made it that you could do the exterior in cotton. So of course she was absolutely right to make that change. Okay, I'm going to burn that off. Ooh, she turned out good. I'm proud of me. Okay. So see how that top stitching and how it looks like it's completely seamless because we tied it all off in the back. Just like that. So for homework, I'm going to get you guys to put the other side of the zipper on this other side. Just make sure when you're sewing it that you have these tails out of the way because you do not want to accidentally sew them into there. So it's just the exact same process we just did here, but with the other side. You can see here, make sure, see how everything was caught. Oh, and remember why I said the pleats? Look at, once you had that all sewn in there, you can't even see where all my tucks were here because they were, see, they're all gone. Same with this side because they were below that 1/8 of an inch. This one has a little one there, but it's not going to be noticeable, so it's okay. All right, does that make sense? Good to go? So for homework, you're going to do the other side, okay? So put that aside for now. Whoopsies. Oh, and also for homework, you're going to decide once you have your zippers on where you want to place your nameplate. Now, depending which side is the prettier side, you know, so you're going to measure down an inch or so, depending on the size of your nameplate. You want to make sure there is at least an inch between where this folds over here. So from the vinyl down here, make sure it is an inch or more down from there, mainly because later on we're going to be doing another line of top stitching right beside this line, and we don't want that nameplate to get in the way. So if you're putting a nameplate on, do that for homework as well, and the other side of the zipper. And then that'll take you, if you look at the pattern, this is what it will look like in the end right here. So you'll have your nameplate on, you'll have your zippers, and that is the exterior completely done. All right, so now we're going to do the main lining. So the lining is almost exactly the same as the exterior. If you've used cotton like me, it goes so easy, so easy. So again, we're going to align with glue or tape right along the stabilizer, but the only difference is we're also going to fold it in on these sides as well, kind of around. And you'll see what I mean when we get there. Okay, so we're going to be going all the way around. So I'm going to actually draw, kind of just draw my 1/4 of an inch lines around, just eyeballing it. It may not fall exactly on these lines. It may be a slightly different shape, but that is okay. Just like that. I'm going to take my double-sided tape and we're going to go all the way around. Or your glue and go all the way around. All the way around that stabilizer. Now, if you find your decaval is kind of hanging over too much, like in these little corners, which can sometimes happen, go ahead and just trim them off a little bit. That is fine. And you'll see what I mean here momentarily when we go to tuck that little section in. And I know this is the section that is actually the hardest when you go with the regular seam allowance. That's why we cut it bigger. Okay. So now what we're going to do before we take that off is right in these little cutout things, we are actually going to do some snips right up to that main draw line that we did. Okay. So just kind of go in like this. We'll probably be trimming these off. Just kind of do like 1 in the middle and 3 down the sides like so. Right up to that draw line. So this is what you got. And we may be extending these depending on your fabric, but we're going to just start with those 3. Okay. Oopsies. And what's nice about using cotton is once I get this in place, I'm going to give it a really good press. I'm actually going to go and get my iron warming up again for that. This wallet looks awesome if your machine can handle it. Doing this in vinyl as well. I have done one in vinyl, but just to be able to press it on the iron with the cotton is amazing. So I'm just going to turn my iron on quickly. Grab a quick drink before we go any further. Okay, and just like we did with the exterior, we're going to start with the straight edges. You're going to take it, you're going to fold it under. So you can see, if we hadn't extended this out, we would have just been folding over this 1/4 of an inch, which is completely doable. This just makes it so you have a little more control. So there's one long side right around that decaval heavy, like so. Don't do the corners yet. We're going to do the straight side and straight side. Now, when we get to this part here, you're just going to kind of because there's nothing to put it up against, but we cut into that line, and you're just going to take your finger and just kind of pull it down and around like so. So what you want to make sure is that there's no raw edge that's going to be, it has to be below 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. So even if you're pulling that center in even more, and that's where if your deckable heavy is in the way, right in these corners here, you can trim a little bit away. But you just got to make sure that you're over, your raw edge is over 1/8 of an inch past the very edge. And it makes this kind of curvy mark. Now your curvy marks may end up being a different shape every time. That is perfectly fine too. So I'll show you that again. So I'm kind of bringing these long edges, not doing the corners yet, over the decaval. And then here I'm grabbing that center one and I'm pulling it nice and tight down. And see how it's making that curve? And then I'm just sticking it down. My raw edge has a good 1/4 of an inch, which is good. This side, I think I can do a little better. Again, pull and down. And again, any little pleats that are happening here is okay because they will not show. They're on the wrong side. Okay, now we're going to do these corners exactly like we did with the exterior. You will have to trim these down. You may have to put little snips into them as well. I'm going to try not to because we've used, if you're doing the 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, you definitely will have to, but because we've used such excess, you won't have to. So you have it like this, grab the center of it, pull it down, pull it down, pull it down, smooth it out. And this is where, see how I got this kind of going bloop, bloop like that? I'm just going to put a little snip there just to help flatten it out, but make sure you don't go past that 1/8 of an inch from there. Just pull it down. And again, there's pleats there, but you're not going to see them once it's attached. So we're going to do that with all the corners. Again, most important is making sure there's no raw edge sitting right in there, right in these little swoopy swoops. That corner down, center, over. And then if you're using cotton or even waterproof canvas, you can definitely take this when it's all done and give it a good press. How are we doing for time? 4:14. Okay. So the middle first, pull the rest down. So I am going to leave you guys this other one for homework because you're going to do it exactly the same way. Middle, down, down, down. This one I need to put a little bit of a snip in here. Every time I do this, it is different whether I need a little snip or not. So, oops, come on. Okay, now I'm going to take that over to my iron. You can kind of see what it's going to look like, and I'm going to give that a good press to make sure everything stays in place where I need it to. Okay, be right back. Just like that. Now you can see my little swoopy areas. They're not exactly uniform, but they're nice and centered, and that's all that matters because you're not going to see it otherwise. Now, just like we did with the exterior, we want to measure down 3 inches from each of the sides towards that swoopy area. So just like that. This is actually a later step in the pattern. I just do it at this point because then if I'm going to be setting this aside and not continuing on and sewing it right away, I don't want my double-sided tape to dislodge and to lose all that. So this just helps get that all done. Okay, so it's a smaller section than our exterior because these are smaller. So what we're going to do is from the 3-inch line to the 3-inch line with an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, we're going to go ahead and we are going to do an 1/8 of an inch top stitch between those lines. I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to back stitch them. You can definitely pull them to the back if you want to, but it's the lining. I'm not too worried about it. And I'm going to be back stitching there anyways later on. So, and what that's going to do is that's just going to hold this finicky section in place as well as do that top stitch, because when we attach the zipper and attach it to the exterior, we will be top stitching the rest. So we don't want to have an untop stitch section. So let's go ahead and top stitch there. Oops. It's such a small area. Line to line. And that's going to hold that middle section in place for us. Again, using a coordinating thread with your lining definitely helps here. Okay, that looks good. Same with the opposite side. Perfect. Because yeah, the part that will pop out on you is definitely that middle section, just because we have it pulled so tight. Oops, sorry. Wrong camera. There we go. Okay, so I don't know if you can see. Can you see that top stitching? My thread really kind of goes in like that. So you'll do the exact same thing with the other one. Okay. All right. Any questions so far? Makes sense? Not too scary? Said if you go slow, it's not a scary one at all. Just got to go slow. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to give you guys a choice. We can either move on to the card slots or we can do the homework together. What would be better? Do you guys want to see me do it again? Or do you want to move on to the next thing? We're ahead of schedule. Which would you prefer? It's the same thing over again. So if you want me to show it again, we can for both. Or I can move on to the next one. Coco's saying hi to the boys. They just got home. Sorry for the barking. Show again? Okay. So we'll do the exterior again. And then there will be no homework because if you're doing this, this is going to be enough stuff to catch up on, I guess. Okay, so again, I'm just going to make sure my center mark on my exterior. Do you guys hear Dexter's woos? He's being funny. Okay, so exterior, wrong side up. I'm going to take my tape, starting from that where my top stitching ended on this side, and put it all the way around. Hello, child. I'm in class, but that's okay. Say hi.
Hello.
Can you guys hear Brady? What's up?
Oh, nothing.
Oh, you're just talking to me through the window?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, goodbye.
Goodbye. My boys like to, when I have my window open, they like to scare me. He wasn't being that sneaky though. I knew he was there. For those of you that are new, my boys are like 23 and 25. Like they're not they're not babies by any means. They're both in university. And that's why Dexter and Coco are freaking out, because their people are home. Okay, so we want to make sure that these stay away from the tape, these little taily things here. Oh my gosh, it's mayhem in my house. Okay, so wrong side up, and my zipper tape is wrong side up. We got the center mark and the center mark, and we're going to put it right along that line, only working with the straight edge. And again, I don't stick my corner down. I just kind of ease it around without sticking it down and bring the straight edge down and stick it down. And then move this where I think it's going to be right at those little lines we did. And then just take your thumb, center first, and press it down gently. You should just ease around. If it doesn't work the first time, just do it again. Okay, let's see how that corner looks. I've got enough easing around. She looks good. Again, for the other side, again, I'm not sticking it to the corner just yet. I'm easing around how much fabric will need to go around that corner, and then sticking the straight side down here like so. And then playing with that corner, starting with the center and pushing it down to that line ever so lightly. It's kind of like massaging it. Talk to it. So you can do this for me. Did I get it the first time again? Sometimes it takes me 2 or 3 times to get those corners perfect. This one I think did it the first time. Again, pop it out just so you can make sure you've got enough tape where your zipper pull will clear all the way around, which I do. And then we're going to go ahead. We're going to make sure that these bottom tails are out of the way. We want these ones to still be straight to where that top stitching is, but we don't want to accidentally have these ones sitting back here and getting that caught in the stitching. Ask me how I know. I have done it many times. I may have done it yesterday. Just saying. And then we're going to put our needle down there, and we're going to sew all the way around with our zipper foot again. Again, making sure that these bottom tails are kind of out of the way, and we're only catching these ones. Okay. Does that make sense? It's not too hard. It can be a little bit finicky. Just take your time. And really, this is the part you want to take your time on, is the zippers, because the zippers are like showcasing this wallet. So just take it easy and don't rush it, and you'll be fine. Okay. And I'm pulling my threads long, making sure the finished side, my tails are out of the way. But you want the side you're working on, the tail to be down and into it here where the glue is. Okay, putting my needle down in that starting stitch. And making sure everything's staying where it needs to, and sew around. And if you're like me, you'll hand crank around the corners. Everything's sticking where it needs to. Oop. Do you need to come in, Rye? Oh, you're talking to the dog, not me. So my studio is also my son's art studio for his painting. So that's why I was asking him. He has the other half of this room. It's not a very big room, but we share it. Okay, and needle down right in that starting stitch. Put your threads long and then tie them off the back. Oh, I think this is the most perfect top stitching I've had in one of these so far. It's so good. Oh my goodness, cocoa beans. Definitely want to make sure these stitches are nice and secured because you don't want that tape, that zipper tape coming off later on. So back stitch or tie them off like I'm doing. Ooh, that was hot. All right. Like seriously, look how good. So you can pop this out if you wanted to see. Kind of fold it in half. You kind of get an idea what your wallet is going to look like. So look how good that top stitching turned out. I'm proud of me. I went a little funky here, but that's okay. Same with there. And you can see how along here it all looks good. Little pleats, a couple little pleats, but the uniform, that's okay. But no pleats on my zipper tape, which I find even more important. So yes, that's where you're going to decide which side you like better and install your nameplate, which I will leave for homework. Make sure these are all free and clear, like so. Easy. Okay, so now let's do a lining one again. So again, we're going to draw. Now here's an example here. So when I go to draw around this curve, see how my deckable heavy kind of is lower when I kind of go to trace out my 1/4 inch line on this side? See? All I'm going to do is go like this. I'm going to just pull it up a little bit. And I'm just going to kind of snip it off so it's outside of that curve. This one's okay. And that could just be how the deckable heavy had been cut. It's happened to get on this side, I can see here. And see? Right there? It's just a very, very little bit, but it's going to frustrate me. So I'm going to just kind of, on a little bit of an angle, cut that deckable heavy out of the way. Like that. Not going to make a difference for anything. Okay, and then again into these corners up until that main cut line, I'm just going to go ahead and go like this. Make a few snips, 3 snips. I think I need to sharpen my scissors. Now, if you didn't cut the excess, it's going to be real, like you will put little snips in here, but you have to be very careful because it's only a 1/4 inch seam allowance there, that you don't go too deep, like very scant 1/8 of an inch. But because we cut this excess, we can just cut it right to there and then just let it form its own shape for those curvy sections. Doesn't have to be exactly like the pattern piece. Okay. Take my tape or your glue along the stabilizer at that 1/4 inch-ish line all the way around. Okay. Okay, again, start with the top and bottom straight edges. Down over that deckable heavy. Don't worry about the corners. Take this straight edge, press it down, and then this section here, kind of grab those little slitty things and pull it down. So just pull it down. So it's more, that raw edge is more than 1/8 of an inch away. And if you have to cut away a little bit more of that deckable heavy to get it to go there, it'll be fine. See, now you can see how this is a different shape than this one is. But do you know what? Nobody's going to notice. It's perfectly fine. There's going to be all sorts of guts going on that if these aren't perfectly round, this one's more pointy than it is round, but I'm okay with that. This side here, pull on your little thingies here and stick them down. Perfect. And then these corners. Kind of snip them down. So you can see how far I'm snipping it down, almost to that line we drew, just a little bit over. Oops. Again, grab into the center of that corner and push it down, and then pull all the edges down. Pulling as much of any tucks away from the edge. It's okay if it's in the middle. You just want it to be as far away from the edge as it can be. So again, this isn't necessarily in the pattern. This is the hack that I came up with to hopefully make it easier. And I'm very, very curious for those who have made it, if this is making it easier. So Dawn and Diane, please do let me know if, once you do it, if it did make it easier or if I just made it harder for everybody. I think I've made it easier. Again, this side doesn't have to look pretty. In the middle, push it down, and then bring in the sides. I don't think I have to do any little slits for this one. Just looking good. Oops. One more corner to go. Again, from the center of the corner, push it down, and then kind of pull on these ones to bring them nice and tight. Okay, and then if you're using anything you can press, go ahead and give it a good press. So I'll be right back. Ouch, it's hot. Okay, we're going to measure down 3 inches in from the sides, or the top and the bottom, not the opposite sides of these little swoopy parts. From the top here, and then we're just going to top stitch these middle sections again. Again, you can pull your threads long if you want to. The lining, I'm not worried about it. I can barely see my thread anyways because it blends so well. But you do you. If you're using a contrasting thread, you will probably want to just pull the threads to the back, but I can barely see my threads, so I'm okay. Again, this step is done in a later step. I think if I were to write the pattern again, I would have added it to this step, but it's fine either way. All right. And that's it. So we have our 2 lining panels and our exterior panel. Oh, I wanted to show you why these, see how much smaller these are than the exterior? I know when the pattern first came out, people are like, my lining doesn't match my exterior. It's way shorter. I'm like, well, of course it does. And I'll show you guys why quickly, okay? Just because sometimes our heads get in there. Oh, sorry, Stephanie. I just saw your chat. I didn't see. Do I use a regular iron? I actually have a steam iron. Do you know what? I will take my phone over there momentarily and show you what it is, okay? I don't use a regular iron though. Okay, first let me show you this. Whoops, not that. Sorry, Steph, I did not see that there. I am so new to Zoom. Dawn is teaching me how to use it. So okay, so this is how this is going to end up going together later on. So why my lining, see how much smaller my lining piece is? People are like, what? What's going on here? So the way this is going to go together, once we have all of our guts in, is we're going to have a zipper tape on this side and a zipper tape on this side. And these are going to be sewn together like so. Okay, so it's going to end up looking like this. And then this part and this part is what ends up being the exact same size as our exterior. And that's how we get the double zipper. So if you, and I'm only saying it because we got some people wondering when we first released the pattern why the lining pieces were so much smaller. And it's because there's 2 lining pieces because they're forming like the double zip section, right? So when these sides are together and it's laid out like this, it fits in there perfectly. I just know that when you're sewing it, you may be like, did I cut it wrong? Or why is it so much smaller? It's because these 2 make up the same. See? Makes sense? Okay. So I'll show you. Oh, I'm going to show you my messy area though. Okay. I might make you guys a little bit dizzy. Okay, one sec. All right. Hello. Oh, I just took my whole thingy off. Look at this. I took this off. Okay. So let me see here. Ooh. This is my iron right here. So this is, it's Reliable Maven 1401. It was about $300 Canadian. I got it from Central Sewing where I buy my machines. And it's a heavy duty iron. So it has super steam. This bottom part here, you fill with water. And it's got lots of settings like no steam. I don't know what the 2 dots are. Medium steam maybe. Yeah, all the way to the max steam. So yeah, that is what I use for my iron and I just love it. Okay, I don't think I can put this back up on my camera. You guys want to see what's looking outside? Ooh, it's kind of rainy. So yeah, anything else you guys need to see in my studio? I'm kind of embarrassed about how messy it is. So. And my camera thing fell down, so I can't put it back up on my thing. So any questions about anything as I'm just holding my phone out like this? Or are we good? Okay, perfect.
I have a steam iron like similar to yours.
Do you? Yeah, I like it. I actually, before this one, I was using a Aliso, the ones that pop up. And I returned that iron. I'm going to see if I can get this back up here because I'm scared I'm going to make you guys dizzy. That iron, I swear, it was terrible. It kept leaking and I kept having to return it for warranty. I apologize. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get this back up here. That's my hand. Sorry. Don't drop the phone. I did it. Okay. Yeah, so I have an Aliso. I still use it. But it leaks water like no tomorrow. And I returned it 3 times, got different ones. And the last one I just said, I'll just keep it. And I bought this one. So my Aliso, I think, was like I want to say it was like $120 times 3 because I got 3 of them. But I didn't pay for the other 2. I just kept. It's really funny because when I went to return them, and it's such a waste, I had to send a video of me cutting the power cord on them. They didn't want the iron back, but they didn't want me using it as a dry iron, even though I was using the warranty. So I had to send them a video of me cutting the wire or the plug, which was ridiculous to me because they functioned fine. They just leaked everywhere, right? So when it came to the last one, I just didn't bother with the warranty. I just kept it because I didn't want to destroy another iron. It was such a waste. And of course, each time they sent me a different color, so I couldn't cheat and use the same the same video. Not that I would have done that. That would have been dishonest. But yeah, so I kept the last one. And that's the one you see me using on the table, like when we were doing wallet tutorials and everything where we needed to press the card slots. That's the one that I would bring to the tabletop because it's a lot more portable than, say, that one. I also have a chi iron, which I use for my garment sewing. Well, before I got this, I use this one for everything now, but I love my chi iron as well. It gets really hot, but the steam wasn't so great on it, but sometimes you don't need the steam. So yeah. Any other questions? Or are we all good?
No question, but the globe rulers, I don't know if you've heard of those yet, but there is a discrepancy in the measurements. So in order to get a refund, you have to destroy the rulers.
Really?
And they want a video of it. I was just like, wow, I've never heard of anything like that before.
Yeah, so same with the Oliso irons. They make you do the exact same thing, but it just seems like such a waste. I mean, you could still be using that straight edge on a ruler for something. Like, why would you just destroy it? Or maybe they should be getting you to return it so they can recycle it or find out what's going on with it. But, oh well. What can we do, right?
Throwaway world.
It is. It totally is. And you know me, like I keep all my scraps. Like even doing this little hack, I'm thinking, wow, that's like 4 inches of vinyl that I, but that's me. What would I use that 4 inches of vinyl for? Probably a wristlet or something. But yeah. Oh, speaking of wristlet, if you are doing the corset ring, okay, I'm not doing the corset ring, but you would say you have your nameplate on this side here. You would want to, well, decide which way you want to put your corset ring on, and you would go and you would rivet it on into the center of one of these sides, here or here. Do I have one? Do you know what? I think I might have a client one here that has the corset. No, I have one with the corset ring. Never mind. Let me grab it. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So this is what I'm talking about, the corset ring. If you want to add a wristlet, I'm not doing a wristlet on this one or any of the ones I'm making because I'm making these to sell at Craft Market. And if I add a wristlet on, I have to add an extra $7 to the price, and people in Kamloops are cheap. So I'm not, just because you'd be using more vinyl and the hardware and everything, so I'm not putting the wristlets on my market bags just because I can make them $7 cheaper if I don't. And I just know my community. So, so yeah, if you're going to be doing a corset ring, so all this was when this is flat, before anything was in it, right here, I slipped the corset ring nice and centered. You use that center mark that we drew there. Remember those center marks there? Decide which side you wanted it on, put it on, and rivet it on. So if you're doing a corset ring, decide on which side you want it to be on. This one, I have it on this side. What is that? Put it on the side where your zipper pulls when closed won't be. So I have this on the right-hand side when it's facing me. So the corset ring, when my bag, the front of the bag is facing me, I have it on the right-hand side for the wristlet. So that's when you install that.
Where do you get the corset rings from?
Emmeline bags. Do you want me to show you what they look like?
Sure.
Okay. 1 second. Please hold.
You can also just add your strap to your 2 zipper pulls too.
You absolutely can. If you have a zipper pull that has circles in them, you can add it onto both of the zipper pulls and open and close it in one swift motion. Okay, just bear with me while I find my corset rings. Here they are. So I can kind of mimic with these. I'll put it to my table down here to show you guys.
Here's mine with the on the zipper.
Oh yeah, do you want to show how that works with this, how you can close it? So Diane, if you talk, then you'll come to the big screen.
Then it just opens like that.
Can you show that again?
Yep.
Just like that.
On the zipper pull?
Yes. And then both sections open. So that's another option you can do. Let me put this to tabletop down again.
The only thing is then you have to open 2 sections at a time if you don't want.
Exactly. Unless you just attach it to one of the zippers, which you could do too. So there's so many different things you can do with this. So these are how the corset rings come from Emmeline bags. They're super cheap. Another thing these are good for in purses is for hanging your, well, maybe if you've got skinny glasses, like reading glasses, they could hang in there too. So maybe if they're not too thick. So the way, say I was putting this corset ring on, I'm not going to, but you kind of have these little prongs and it's like kind of just like metal and it bends. So you kind of bend these apart like so, see, just like that. And what I do is I decide which side I'm going to put it on, nice and centered. I have my center line mark there and I slide it on. And then I would make a mark with my pen. I'm not going to just because I'm not putting it on. I put a mark with my pen right in that hole. Take this off. Put a hole in with your punch. Put this back on, lining up the holes, and then put a rivet on. It'll go through both sides and hold it in place. And that's as easy as it is to put it on a corset ring. So just imagine that there's a rivet right in there, and then that is done. Just make sure it's nice and centered, just like this one is. So yeah. You can't see because it's all glued shut there, but yeah. And it just stays in there nicely. And it's actually another way that helps hold all of the center in, because this one here I did with the smaller seam allowance, so it just helps stabilize that. You can see how far it goes on this side here. You just want to make sure it doesn't go where that stitching is there. So it's way past that. So it's super cheap, Emmeline bags. I have it in all the finishes. There's gunmetal, antique brass. I was planning on making a lot of wallets, but then I decided not to use the corset rings. Gold, matte black, rainbow, and nickel. So yeah, it's actually a new product, I want to say, within the last 6 months on Emmeline bags. And you can use these. This is another thing. Say you have like a little pouch or something, but you want to put say a small strap on. I mean, the smaller swivel clasp will clip in there, or again for wristlets. It's just so much easier than say making like a little, you know, D-ring connector. You can just use hardware instead, and it looks really pretty. So I guess corset rings are made for corsets, aren't they? I never really thought of what they were, but yeah. So that's how you would install that if you're going to do that, but I'm not doing that for those reasons. So yeah. Any other questions about anything? How are we doing for time? We still got 10 minutes. Is this looking scary to anybody, or do you think it's going to be okay? And Cynthia's looking scary. What are you scared of, Cynthia? What looks scary to you? We can't hear you. You're on mute. Are you typing it? Let me see here.
Everything I'm having problems with. I'm just still trying to get that to have round corners. I haven't even got zippers on yet. So
And
I've been struggling.
that's okay. Take it slow. You got to remember, I've made a ton of these, and I was the lead designer on it, and Anna and I tested so many of these, and I've been making these like no tomorrow because these are going to be my main wallet at market season. Of course, I put them up on my website. I think I've made like 15 or so in the last couple of weeks, and I have 3 left. Like they just, and I'm selling them for 70 without the wristlet. I'm selling them for $70 Canadian. With the wristlet, I'm selling them for $80 Canadian. So that's why I know people won't. They will like the number 70 better than, well, and then for market season, I give, okay, again, I'm being very, very transparent. If somebody were to order this, they pay full price because it's custom, right? When I go to market, my market prices are friends and family pricing, which is 10 to 15% off, depending on how generous I'm feeling. And taxes in, because I do have to charge PST here in BC because I sell enough that BC makes me do it now. But friends and family pricing at market season, because here in Kamloops, people are always looking for that $20 or $30 thing. And I go to market and my cheapest thing will be a $70 wallet, right? But I want to sell them. And all the stuff at market season, because it's the end of the year, it's my class bags that didn't sell. Like I don't make extra bags for market. I just take the class bags that didn't sell and they get marked down. And then this year I'm just making a bunch of smaller items because last year I went with a few wallets. I think I went with about a dozen wallets, some Triskells and some men's wallet, a bunch of Sonar Patterns wallets. And all of that stuff sold like within the first 2 fairs that I did because they were all like $70 and less. And a lot of people will bring $50 in their pocket or whatever. Again, if you're in the US, I'm talking Canadian funds. So that's why I have decided that I'm just going to, and I'm not a production sewer by any means. I'm a process sewer. I like to make one bag and then I want to move on to the next one. Unless it's a custom order, then of course I'm remaking the bags. So I'm production sewing these babies because I think they're going to sell pretty good and they're going to be my lower ticket item on the table, as well as I'm going to make some men's wallets because I have to have some men's stuff as well. And my men's wallets, I make out of cork and I sell them for $50 each and they sell so fast. I just do the bifold by Sonar and they go, as well as I'm doing pocket pals from Lynn's Handmade and I sell those for $40 to $45. So yeah, so my market prices are 10 to 15% off of my regular price, depending on the bag. Like if it's a really involved bag, I'm only going to do 10% off. But if it's a pretty simple bag, 15% off. And then I just mark on my market sale price, so and so. And I always write what the regular price is as well. And then cross it out and then red put what the market sale price is, because then people think they're getting a really good deal, right? Just trying to play with people's heads here. So yeah, I'm making a ton of these over the next month. Like I have 4 right here. See? So that's going to be my weekend. But yeah, so that's my plan for market season. So yeah, that's why I'm not doing the wristlet, is because I would have to make the price more expensive. And I just know my market here that they won't do that. Yeah. And all my other bags, like I think I counted, I've made so far this year, I think I've 247 bags and wallets I've made this year. I'm going to count what I have left. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 16. I have 16 purses and 3 wallets. That's all that hasn't sold since January, just from putting it up and from, I have an amazing, amazing clientele base. I swear it's all the same people and I love them all. So, and then they also order custom from me. But so yeah, those bags are all going to market. And I can tell you it's all the ones that are done with prints or glitter vinyl. But my glitter vinyl bags sell first at market. It makes no sense at all. I love working on glitter bags. So yeah, and believe it or not, all of the smaller class bags I have, I have 2 aviatrixes that I've made. I made more. I made like 6 aviatrixes in all when they first launched. So I have 2 aviatrixes, no, 3 aviatrixes left. So I sold 6. I have 3. And my smaller bags, like my Aria bag and like that we did in class and everything like that, my smaller bags didn't sell. So Kamloops definitely isn't a small bag community. All of my slings sold, which I hate making slings, but they all went right away. And all of my larger bags went. Like all my Mr. Heckles bags, gone as soon as I posted them, like gone. gone. So, and crossbody bags. I have a ton of crossbody bags. My Kamloops is weird. I don't understand. So, but no, I think that's pretty good. It's the way I clear it out, and anything that doesn't sell at market, I end up after Christmas, I have an auction on my Facebook page, of my business Facebook page, and I put for the starting bid, I do one a day. For the starting bid, I put what my supplies cost was, which is normally about $80 or so. And then I leave it for 24 hours, and people, it's just like a 24-hour auction on Facebook, and people go in and they make a bid, and the highest bidder wins it. And then I'm cleared out by January, and I'm starting fresh again. So that's my process, and it's worked for me for like the last 4 years. So we'll just keep doing it. Yeah. Any other questions? I know I probably went on a rant about about how I do markets, but yeah. And Cynthia, don't be scared. Reach out to me if you need help. You know I'm here for you. Even if we have to go on a Zoom together or something, and that goes for everybody, just let me know so I can be pretty and not in my pajamas. Yeah, because you don't want to see me when how I usually look. Yeah. All right. But yeah, work those corners nicely, Cynthia. You'll be fine. I know you're a perfectionist, and that is good for this because you want it to look really good, and you want to get these corners really good. So, but honestly, if you're probably your worst, your own worst critic, and it's probably not as bad as you think. So, yeah. Diane, do you want to show yours? So that's Diane's. That was her tester one from when she. Actually, Diane, do you want to unmute and then talk, and then you can take over the big screen? She's like, no. I lost her. I think she's grabbing her other one.
I have two that I did. This is the other one. The inside isn't very good, but this has all the card slots in it.
Mm-hmm.
This one, and then this one just has the pouch, the zipper pouch.
Now, this is an example. Diane doesn't think hers look good. Don't they look wonderful?
I think they look perfect.
And I saw them in person, so.
That one I sold.
See, she sold it. So yeah, when I was in Ontario visiting with Anna, where we were staying at Anna's cottage was close to where, well, I guess it wasn't super close. Diane still drove like an hour and a half, and we drove about 45 minutes, but we got to go for lunch with Diane, and she brought her tester, Deuce Coupe. So I'm just pointing it out that we're our own worst critics, always. And we're going to notice the mistakes. I mean, there's mistakes on this one, I'm sure. I got to look because I don't even remember anymore. What didn't I like about this one? Oh, this one. See, you can't. Okay, so I was upset because in these corners, you know how when we top stitch the center of these, my top stitching from the rest of it didn't line up with those corners. And I'm like, oh, that's going to look awful. But you know what? You can't even see the corners because the way it folds in.
See,
so
mine went like that too, and it's not nice.
But now you're going to use my hack, and it's going to be easier.
Yes.
I love hacking my own pattern. Yeah. I actually can't say it's my hack necessarily, because when I wanted to make the glitter vinyl one, my client really, really wanted the wedding chapel glitter from Galaxy Customs done in this. And I'm like, Anna, we designed this for lighter fabrics. How the heck am I going to use a glitter vinyl? And Anna is a professional upholsterer. So a lot of some of the changes that she made to this pattern was because she used some upholstery techniques. And those are the things we're trying to use in all of our patterns because they're new and they make things easier and a lot more professional looking. So I'm learning a lot from her. So she said, Brandy, all you have to do is cut the vinyl bigger and then it'll fold over. And that's when I'm like, do you know what? I did that and it was easy. And that's when I decided for this class, I'm going to take Anna's advice for that. And we are going to do it because it is easier, especially when you're starting out. But again, having that much excess in my little hoarding brain is like, I just wasted 4 inches of vinyl. So I don't usually do this, but I have made so many of these that it's easy now, right? So definitely cutting it bigger makes it a lot easier until you get used to doing it. And then you can use the lesser amount for sure. Yeah. Yay. Any questions, comments, or concerns? It's 5:02. Oh man, I still gotta make dinner. Man, who wants to come cook for me?
I need an SVG file.
Anna and I are learning. Meaning Anna's learning, because that is not my forte at all. I know how to make.
You should see my drawings for the little tabs.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's horrible looking.
Oh dear. So I know how to do it on a Cricut in Creator Space, but that's not an SVG file. I just know how to create them by taking a picture and shadowing it out and doing it. Mind you, I haven't done it in about 3 or 4 years. I did that with the Sonar patterns before she had SVG files. I went out and bought my Cricut just for that reason. You know, that's like $500 well spent. And it sits on my shelf. I hardly ever use it except for at market season when I'm cutting out more cork wallets. But no, we have that as a goal to figure out how to do the SVG files, meaning Anna has a goal of figuring out how to do the SVG files because I won't do it because I'm not technically, yeah. Anna does all the digitalization of the pattern pieces and everything. So maybe one day, probably not anytime soon because she does work 1.5, well, she works like 1.5 jobs. She has a full-time job at a hospital as well as Galaxy Customs. And then, and then of course are designing the patterns. So maybe one day when she's on vacation, she can do it. But yeah. Any other questions? Nope. All right. So only homework is putting on your nameplate and finishing what we did in class today if you haven't done it yet. So besides that, and your corset ring if you're doing a corset ring. Next week, I'm kind of putting in my head, we got 2 more sew along. So next week, I think we won't be playing with these pieces. What we're going to be doing is we're going to build all of the innards of the wallet. So we're going to build these 2 card slots. And we're going to build the gusset, these gussets and the zipper pocket, but we're not going to attach them next class. We're just going to make those. I'm going to show you how to make those. So we'll have all of our pieces ready to construct for the last class where because it doesn't take very long to attach them to these lining panels. Like probably will take us half hour, 45 minutes, maybe an hour to do all that. And then we can take it nice and slow for the funnest part of when we top stitch it all together. Guaranteed, this side is the hardest to attach. If you're worried about thickness, because these gussets, you got to remember on this middle section, we're sewing the gussets, 2 layers of deckable heavy, and the zipper tape. If you're worried about that thickness, consider doing 4 card slot sections, because the 4 card slot sections, you don't have the gusset and you don't sew through those thicknesses because you sew around there. So that's just something to think about. And it's a lot easier to top stitch when it's laying flat. See how flat I can lay this? And what we're doing is we're top stitching just from here to here all the way together. Okay. This side, when we go to top stitch it, we have to push this out of the way like so to top stitch it. But I have discovered recently that it's really easy to top stitch this with the gusset on a cylinder arm. Diane and Denelda, because I know you have the cylinder arms. I'm not going to do it on my cylinder arm as much as I want to do it on my cylinder arm for the class, because I know most people do not have a cylinder arm. If you have a free arm, which Stephanie, does your HD9 have a free arm?
I can make it into a free arm. It's in the table right now, but I can't put it up on blocks.
That might be easier for this, just saying. But I'm going to show how to do it on a flatbed. But yeah, it is so much easier on the cylinder arm and a free arm. I just discovered it last week. So, but again, it wouldn't be fair for me to show it on, like for this on the cylinder arm, because it is the toughest part. And I think I shouldn't take the easy way out. So I will be good. But yeah, Diane, Danelda, free arm. Trust me. Or cylinder arm or free arm. Yeah. Cynthia, you're out of luck with me. We're going to do it on our flatbeds. And Dawn, you're going to do it on your flatbed with me. Dawn's already done it though. So, and Rhonda, she has a flatbed as well. So yeah. All right. Well, that was fun. I get really excited when we do stuff that I helped create. So, and don't be scared. Again, if you're having issues, reach out to me, shoot me a message on Facebook, shoot me an email. I'm here for you and I will help you through it. All right. Again, I'm going to be making a whole bunch of these over this weekend. So it's perfect timing if you need extra help because I will have a bunch already sort of constructed. So, all right. Okay, everybody. Thanks again. Have a great dinner. I will see you next week and reach out if you need anything. Okay?
Night.
Good night. Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.